السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, once again we have been granted this beautiful opportunity to be present in order to learn and to teach the message of the Holy Quran. I would like to welcome you to this True Story series brought to you by SDI Media on YouTube. And inshallah today, as you may have seen by the posters, we will be discussing and speaking in regards to Hadhrat Yusuf alayhi salam. This will be over the two parts again, as of course there are many things that are to be said about Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. And in the Holy Quran there is a whole surah, alhamdulillah, which has been associated to Hadhrat Yusuf alayhi salam, and it is completely in regards to Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. Before we continue, let us send salutations upon our Master Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. So please repeat after me. As-salatu was-salamu alayka ya Rasulullah. As-salatu was-salamu alayka ya Habiballah. As-salatu was-salamu alayka ya Nabiyallah. Wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nurallah. Sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. So inshallah, as mentioned, we will be discussing and speaking in regards to Hadhrat Yusuf alayhi salam. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam was an incredibly handsome man. When he was approximately the age of 11, he had a beautiful dream in which he saw that 11 stars and the sun and the moon were prostrating before him. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam then went to his father, Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam, who was also a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and said to Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam that this is the dream which I have just had. So Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam almost immediately realized that this was glad tidings, that Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam is also a prophet. Upon hearing this, he also told Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam that you must not at any circumstances tell your brothers about your dream, because they may become mischievous. Nevertheless, Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam started to protect Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam a lot more than before. As a result, the brothers realized this and they started to become jealous. They started to create jealousy in their heart. As a result of this jealousy, Shaitan thought that this was the chance to attack and to make the most of the chance to harm Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam through his brothers. So what Shaitan did was that he went and he started whispering in the ears of the brothers where they were gathered, and he told them that they should take Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam and kill him in the jungle. So the brothers made a plan that we'll take Yusuf alayhi salam and we will kill him in the jungle. What they did was they went to Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam and they said to Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam that, "Oh father, allow us to take Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam into the jungles." And this was the words that Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam said. He replied, "Oh our father," Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam said, "do not kill Yusuf and drop him into a dark well, so that some traveler may come and take him away if you have to." So this was what Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam replied. To which they said, "Oh our father, what is the matter with you, that you do not trust us with Yusuf, although we are in fact his well-wishers?" We are in fact his well-wishers. This is what the brothers replied. And they said, "Send him with us tomorrow so that we may eat some fruits and play. And indeed we are his protectors." He said, "I will indeed be saddened by your taking him away, and I fear that the wolf may devour him, whilst you are unaware of him." They said, "If the wolf devours him, whereas we are a group, then surely we are useless." So this was the conversation that happened between the brothers of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam and Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam, in order to persuade the beloved father Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam to allow them to take Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam into the jungle. And this is mentioned in Surah Yusuf verses 7 to 17. At that time, it's been said that Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam was actually wearing a shirt which was of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. And this is the very shirt which Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, as when we spoke about Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, as I clarified, that Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was thrown into the fire of Namrud, of Nimrod. This is the shirt that Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was wearing at that moment of time. And so Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam had given that shirt to Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. This come from Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam gave it to Sayyidina Ishaq alayhi salam, and Sayyidina Ishaq alayhi salam gave it to his son, which was Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam, and Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam continued that tradition and gave it to Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. And this is the shirt which Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam was wearing at that moment of time. When they reached into the jungle, the true intentions came open. And when they took him, he says in the Quran, so when they took him away and all of them agreed that they should drop him in the dark well, and we sent the divine revelation to him, you will surely tell them of their deed at a time when they will not know. And at nightfall they came to their father. So then they came to Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam after. But what happened before that is been mentioned in Ruhul Bayan and Khazainul Irfan, that the brothers of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam were about to throw him into the well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at that moment of time ordered Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam to go and save Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam from falling into the well, meaning from falling hard. I've mentioned this before. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in this series or in another session which I've done. But I mentioned that Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam has been asked by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam as to how many times he had to travel at full speed. And this is one of the times. When Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam had been chucked into the well, been thrown into the well, and Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam was ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam from falling in the bottom of the well. It's been said that Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam was at Sidra, the low tree, Sidratul Muntaha, and the order came when and made the journey from there past the 7 heavens to the earth in time before Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam fell. Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam saved Hadhrat Yusuf alayhi salam with his wings and placed him on a rock which was on one side of the deep well. Jibreel alayhi salam then took the ta'awiz, the amulet of Hadhrat Yaqub alayhi salam, and placed it around Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, and immediately the well became engulfed in light. Subhanallah. So again, from this story, from this point we understand that Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam's amulet, the ta'awiz, that was given to Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, and that is what benefited Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. Of course, we can say that he is the Prophet of Allah, so nothing was going to happen to him anyway, and that is indeed the truth. However, we must also accept the fact that if it was impermissible to have a ta'awiz, then Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam would not have done the following action of giving the ta'awiz of Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam to Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. And also that the clothing of our pious predecessors, the clothing of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, etc., are also beneficial for us, as Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam gave the shirt of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam to Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. This shows that they also have some significance as well, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that to protect the sha'air of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fi taqwal qulub, it is from the piety of the heart. Then what happens is that the brothers of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam return, as the ayah Karima continues and says, at nightfall they came to their father weeping. So they came to Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam crying and weeping in tears, and they explained the accident. Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam came out of the house, and then they said to Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam, oh our father. And this is again mentioned in the Quran. The verses which I'm reciting are from Surah Yusuf. And said, oh our father, we went far ahead whilst racing and left Yusuf near our resources. Therefore the wolf devoured him, and you will not believe us although we may be truthful. Allahu Akbar. So they lied. They started to lie to Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam, and to say that Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam was actually devoured by a wolf. It was eaten by a wolf. The brothers tried their best to convince their father of what had happened, but Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam, on hearing this, told his sons to be patient, for Allah is the best of judges. Subhanallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided, and he gave revelation to Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam to tell them that don't worry, justice will be served, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the greatest of judges. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah. mentioned in the Quran, and they brought his shirt stained with fake blood. He said, on the contrary, your hearts have fabricated an excuse for you. Therefore, patience is better. And from Allah only I seek help against the matters that you relate. Allah, subhanallah. So here, until now, we understand now that Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam had been put into the well. And Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam protected him and ensured that he was not harmed on the way down in the well. But what happens is that the people, the brothers of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, they came and they started to make excuses. They started to lie to Sayyidina Yaqub alayhi salam by saying that they have lost Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam in the situation that they were in. Then what happens is that the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam, they had thought that Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam had indeed passed away. But what happened was, as mentioned in the Quran in verse 19, and there came a caravan. So they sent their water drawer. He therefore lowered his pail. He said, what good luck, this is a boy. And they hid him as a treasure. And Allah knows what they do. So a caravan came. So let us understand what this convoy and this caravan was. A convoy stopped by the well for water. It was going from Madian to Egypt. Madian being the place where Sayyidina Shu'aib alayhi salam is from. So Sayyidina Shu'aib alayhi salam is from Madian. The story when I mentioned about Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, there was a mention of Sayyidina Shu'aib alayhi salam, and the well of Madian as well was mentioned. So he was going from Madian to Egypt. The man they sent to fetch the water threw his bucket in the well to draw out the water. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam got hold of the bucket and drew himself towards the man. The man took Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam to his people and showed them the beauty of Yusuf alayhi salam. Meanwhile, the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam also appeared. They went to the well to see that Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam was no longer there. They spotted the convoy and told them that the boy they had was a slave. The brothers sold Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam as a slave to the convoy. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam kept quiet as this happened. The convoy brought Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam and set off for Egypt. As mentioned, then the brothers sold him for an improper price, a limited number of coins, and they had no interest in him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making apparent here that they have sold Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam for very little amount of wealth, very little amount of money, because all they cared about was to get rid of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam as a result of jealousy. Allahu Akbar. So they sold their brother. When the convoy reached Egypt, word had reached quickly and spread that they had with him a truly handsome boy. No sooner had the caravan arrived, hundreds of people flocked to come and see. The convoy asked the people why they had gathered. They told them that they had heard that a handsome boy was with them. The head of the convoy decided to charge one ashrafi, a coin, to see Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam's face. Allah. So they started to charge in order to get people to come and see the blessed face of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. This was the state of his beauty, subhanallah. The people agreed to this and began to queue to see him. From early in the morning all day through till evening, people came and paid to see Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. It is reported that veiled women came out of their harems to see him, meaning in their harems, the place of sanctuary. News spread far and wide from about Yusuf that even the king of Egypt then came to see Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. Allahu Akbar. A noble lady called Fargha was among the hundreds and thousands of people who came to see the beauty of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. She took all her wealth with her with the intention to buy him. When she first saw Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, she was so stunned by the beauty that she straight away asked Yusuf alayhi salam who created him. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam calmly replied and said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had created him as his obedient servant and messenger. He went on to tell her that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him with such beauty that he knew people would be stunned. On hearing this, the woman told Yusuf alayhi salam that she accepted that Allah is as hers, who had created him. She asked herself, how beautiful would the Lord himself be if his servant looks so amazing. The woman entered the folds of Islam. This was the first person to accept Islam at the hands of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. The wealth she had brought with her to buy Yusuf alayhi salam was instead spent in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on feeding and clothing the poor and orphan. From then on, she committed her life to seeking Allah's pleasure alone. Subhanallah. So this lady, she devoted her life in the pleasure and in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a result of seeing the blessed face of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. Then we speak about the king of Egypt who was known as Aziz. The king of Egypt was known as Aziz. The king at the time of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, his name was Ayan ibn Walid Amliki. Ayan ibn Walid Amliki. And the title was given as Aziz, as they would to the kings of Egypt in those days. He had developed his powers to an Egyptian named Qitfir, who was in effect his prime minister. When Yusuf alayhi salam arrived in the bazaar, meaning in the marketplace, it was everyone's wish to buy him. Accordingly, the price of Yusuf alayhi salam increased as demanded. Think of it as an auction. As the demand increases, the price also increases. The price at which Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam was sold was the body weight of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam in gold. Allahu Akbar. The weight of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam in gold is how gold and silver and other precious stones is how much Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam was then sold. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam at the time was only 13 years old. The minister brought Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam home as the other prospectors, buyers, left empty-handed. So Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam was then brought by the wazir, the advisor, the prime minister of the Aziz of Egypt, who was Ayan ibn Walid Amliki. Zulaykha comes into this as well. And who is Zulaykha? We will understand about her and what her connection she had with Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, because it plays a big part in the further situations in the life of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam as to what happens to him. And it is mentioned in the Quran as well. So we'll mention the story and then we will conclude, and inshallah we'll continue tomorrow. Zulaykha was a very beautiful young lady and was the daughter of a very noble king. One night in her dream, she saw a very handsome young man. She asked the young man who he was. The man replied that he was the king of Egypt. After awaking, Zulaykha had not forgotten the dream and could remember it very well. So well that it was in her mind all the time. So she had this dream in her mind all the time. She made it pretty clear that if there was anyone that she would marry, it would be the king of Egypt. As she wished, Zulaykha's father got her married to the king of Egypt. Strange enough, when Zulaykha saw the king for the first time, she was shocked, as it was not the same person that she had seen in her dream. Because he was the king of Egypt, but it was not the same person. The king heard about Yusuf alayhi salam and went and brought him home. Meaning, of course, the wazir, the advisor, the prime minister of the king had already brought Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. When he heard about this, he went to visit Qitfir, the prime minister, and brought Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam to his palace. When Zulaykha laid eyes on the person her husband had brought home, it related back to the dream, and this was actually the person that she had seen. So she realized that the person I saw in my dream is in fact the slave that my husband has brought home. Zulaykha fell deeply in love with Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, and she got her husband to build her a palace. The palace was built in such a way that it had 7 rooms all arranged in a maze. Meaning that once you got to the 7th room, once a person got to the 7th room, then they would have to go to the exit, then you have to go all the way back through the other 6 rooms to get out. One day she managed to get Yusuf alayhi salam in the palace and took him through the rooms, closing the door of each one behind them as they proceeded to the 7th room. Having got Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam where she wanted, she expressed her desire for Yusuf alayhi salam, which worries him very much. At this point, the roof of the palace split open and Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam's father, Hadhrat Yaqub alayhi salam, appeared with his fingers in between his teeth, saying, "Don't even let the thought cross your mind, son." Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam told Zulaykha to be aware of Allah and not make this beautiful palace into a place of sorrow. He then left the palace as quickly as he could, but Zulaykha went after him. As Yusuf alayhi salam ran back through the rooms, whichever room he crossed, he noticed that the lock was open, and Yusuf alayhi salam kept on running. Zulaykha, following very closely, managed to grab hold of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam's cloak and pulled him towards her. but he managed to get away. As this was happening, the king was standing at the door of the palace. He saw both of them running, one behind the other, and began to get suspicious of the situation. To clear her name, Zulaykha blamed the whole incident on Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. Allahu Akbar. She blamed it on Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, although it was her fault. And turned to her husband asking him, what punishment is there for somebody who had done harm to your wife? She claimed that she was fast asleep when Yusuf came to me and moved my clothing and trapped me. Astaghfirullah. Arrest him or send him away and punish him. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam replied that Zulaykha was lying, and it is due to her that all this had happened. Her husband asked Yusuf alayhi salam for evidence to support this statement. It so happened to be that Zulaykha's uncle's 3-month-old baby was in the room. Yusuf alayhi salam asked the king to ask the child. The king replied that a 3-month-old child cannot speak. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam replied that Allah will give him the strength to speak, to prove my innocence, and nothing is impossible for Allah the Almighty. The king turned to the child, which said, look at Yusuf's cloak. It is torn from the front. Then if it is torn from the front, then Zulaykha is telling the truth. And if it is torn from the back, then he is speaking the truth. Upon seeing this, it became clear that Zulaykha was running after Yusuf and not vice versa. Her husband was convinced, the Aziz of Egypt was convinced that Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam was speaking the truth and apologized sincerely to him. Allahu Akbar. Let us just quickly look at the verses of the Quran. The woman in whose house he was allured him not to restrain himself, and she closed all the doors and said, come, it is you I address. He said, the refuge of Allah. Indeed, the governor is my master. He treats me well. Undoubtedly, the unjust never prosper. And indeed, the woman desired him, and he too would have desired her were he not witnessed the sign of his Lord. Now, of course, here a point to be mentioned that, of course, Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam is ma'asum, he is the Prophet of Allah. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring this, we could say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to the sign being the prophets are ma'asum. This is what we did to turn him away from evil and lewdness from him. Indeed, he is the one of our chosen bondmen. And we both raced towards the door, and the woman tore his shirt from behind. And they both found her husband at the door. She said, what is the punishment of the one who saw evil with your wife, other than prison or a painful torture? Said Yusuf, it was she who lured me, that I may not guard myself. And a witness from her own household testified, if his shirt is torn from the front, then the woman is truthful, and he has spoken incorrectly. And if his shirt is torn from behind, then the woman is a liar, and he is truthful. So when the governor saw the shirt torn from behind, he said, indeed, this is a deception of women. Undoubtedly, the deception of women is very great. O Yusuf, disregard this, and O woman, seek forgiveness of your sin. Indeed, you are of the mistaken. Allah Akbar. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it, clarified it in these verses as well. Now further on, what happens is that because Zulaykha was in love with Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, she did not stop in her aims, she did not stop in her wishes, and she continued. And then came a stage where the people of the palace started to speak in regards to the love that Zulaykha had for Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam as he was a slave. And then the story continues, and she proves the beauty of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam to the people of the palace. How she does this and what happens further, what happens to Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, let us find out inshallah tomorrow. Do tune in once again to SDI Media. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant me the ability to act upon the Quran, to learn about the Quran, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for any shortcomings we have done in this blessed month of Ramadan, and grant us the blessings of this blessed month, especially in the last 10 days that we have just entered. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all our hard work and worship. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.